Gretchen Neels is the president of Neels Company. Her company is the leading provider of soft skills training to professional service firms, covering all areas of business communications. Gretchen has over 10 years of experience recruiting and retaining top talent at a number of prestigious professional service firms, including Bain Company, Bank of America, and Gordon Brothers. Hi, Gretchen. How are you?
Hey, Dan. I'm very well, thank you.
All right, so we have 6 questions today in this podcast, and the first one is, what exactly are soft skills?
Soft skills are the opposite of hard skills, if you will. Sometimes it's helpful if you understand exactly. Hard skills are those technical skills that people have that identify them in certain industries. The soft skills are what we all need to use to get along with each other. So that could be a sense of humor, emotional intelligence, being able to judge situations. That also means manners, protocol, and observing the proper way to act in a given setting.
Why, as brands, do we need both? And this is part of the first question still.
Oh, sure. Well, certainly you need the technical skills to get across to people that you're competent. If I'm an attorney, for example, I'm going to want to have have very strong grades in law school and have passed the bar with flying colors. Those would be my hard skills. The soft skills are that I'm able to connect with my clients. I'm able to communicate effectively with my coworkers, and most especially the senior executives at my firm. So it's important that we're able to deliver to our clients what they're paying for, but also to get along with others with whom we work.
Basically, relationships you're emphasizing, because that's really how you get along in the workplace, and you got to be able to communicate. And you got to communicate through email, IM, or any new ways. And what about like the whole generation as well? And this is kind of getting a little off, but how does Gen Y communicate with like Gen X or baby boomers in the workplace?
And use
these soft skills.
Yeah, and it's certainly very relevant for our time. There are 4 generations now, Dan, working under one roof, and it's causing some tension. You've got traditionalists who were born before 1945. Then you've got the baby boomers. Then you've got Generation X, and then Gen Y, those born between 1980 and 2000. And they've all got different ways to communicate. And of course, Gen Y they speak technology as a mother tongue, if you will. So they're very apt to want to communicate with, as you say, IM or email. And what's frustrating for some of the other generations, most notably the traditionalists and the baby boomers, they weren't comfortable with face-to-face time. So there's some tension there. When I work with clients and they say, gosh, Gretchen, this young person has just joined our firm and she stays at her desk all day long and just sends out email. And we don't know who she is. We really want to get to know her, but we're not able to do that. And it's because she herself is much more comfortable shooting out the text rather than having a face-to-face conversation.
Excellent. What's your story, and how will you describe your brand in as few words as possible?
What's my story is that I've been in the recruiting and retention business for a long time. I saw a number of very capable people who had the hard skills, not get jobs because they didn't have the soft skills that were required for the position. And I felt really bad. I would think, gosh, that was a great person if they could only have better eye contact, if their handshake was only a little bit stronger, if their confidence wasn't a little bit better. So I decided to put together a business where I would go and teach these skills to people, primarily in the professional services area. And my brand is that I help improve individual and organizational performance through soft skills training.
Do you partner with anyone who does more of the hard skills, or do you recommend they use a certain website or resource or another individual that could mentor them or train them?
I stay out of that hard skill arena because the two are very distinct. I can make recommendations if somebody comes to me in a coaching capacity and says, gee, I'd like to pass the CPA exam. I've flunked it twice. Do you have a recommendation? I could certainly steer somebody in the right direction for those hard skills. But primarily, I'm really concerned with the other half of things, the soft side.
Okay. What I noticed when I was looking at your site is that you said leading provider of soft skills training to professional service firms. Now, what I talked about in my blog when I kind of pitched to a lot of people, at least my generation, is that everyone needs a personal brand statement, and you obviously have like a corporate brand statement. And the whole idea with this is to say, we recognize that in order to be really successful, especially as a small company, we have to take a niche.
Right.
And the big idea is you have to be the best at something to a specific audience, and your corporate branding recognizes that. But what about, can you just kind of more explain that in more depth on how you kind of got situated in that statement and everything?
I started my career after college working at a firm, a big New York firm, where I got excellent training, and that's sort of where I grew up, and that's my comfort zone. And so when I decided to go into business for myself, I had, everybody needs soft skills or core skills training, and I thought that it was really important to find my niche, and in doing so, what was I most comfortable with, and really honing in and deciding that professional services and even more granular than that, it's primarily law firms. I wouldn't be as comfortable in a manufacturing setting or in perhaps the food service industry. My comfort zone is right there with law firms, consulting firms, and banking.
And that brings me to the next question. So you were recently quoted in the Wall Street Journal in an article called Law Without Suits, New Hires Flout Tradition. Can you explain what the article was about, how you were positioned, and how it impacted your personal brand?
Oh, yeah. Thanks for asking about that. It was a really strong article just talking about how senior leadership at law firms is really at a loss because they have young people coming into the firm, and they're not dressing appropriately. They're showing that they do need some soft skills training, but primarily it was about the dress. Law without suits, meaning a dress suit. And so the writer, Christina Bingley, reached out to me asking my opinion based on all the work I do with law firms. And I had some interesting comments in there, I think. But one was when I do practice interviews at schools, sometimes even there, that's an instance where I'm coaching people and I'm telling them, what you have just done, A, B, and C, leads me to think that you're really not engaged, that you're really not ready for this position. So it was a great article and got a lot of really good positive feedback about it.
Okay, and the way I really want to end this is kind of, suggestions for people my age or, even people who are older. And I'm 24, by the way.
Oh, okay, congratulations.
Thanks. So, I'm looking for kind of maybe your top 5, top 10 list of different soft skills that you would recommend to someone straight out of school and maybe someone who's a little bit older. So that's kind of a 2-question part. So what's like the top 5 for someone who's graduating college, and what's the top 5 for someone who's older, or are they both the same?
They're probably going to overlap a little bit, but why don't I get started with the top 5 for somebody who's just new out of school? I say buy some clothes, the best clothes that you can afford. You're going to want to be as conservative as possible at the onset. That's going to give you a lot of credibility. So just, grin and bear it. Buy yourself a suit. Buy yourself some dress clothes. Go in there. When you start your job, listen. Listen to what everybody has to say. The worst thing that happens is sometimes young folks go into an office and they act like a know-it-all, and that's just the worst thing that you can do. So dress up. Dress for the job you want, not the job you have.